Let's welcome anchor Gil Ponce. Gil is a relationship-driven nonprofit executive and political strategist, currently the executive director of the NextGen Chamber of Commerce. Formerly with Options Magazine, he brings decades of experience in LGBTQIA+ advocacy, development services, and grassroots fundraising. Gil, the NextGen Chamber of Commerce listening tour begins on April 23rd. Tell me what's happening.
The NextGen Chamber of Commerce, we're launching our listening tour in Phoenix, Arizona on April 23rd at the Arizona State University West Valley campus from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m., obviously Pacific Coast time. And we're looking to talk with a whole bunch of emerging business leaders across the country about the issues that matter most to them at the end of the day. For more details, you can visit the nextgenchamberofcommerce.org, or you can email me directly at gil@nextgenchamber.org for more information, or for any corporate members who are interested in coming on board as sponsors. And thank you to Amazon Square for their current support.
So do you do this listening tour throughout the country, or is this like this is the start of the listening tour?
This is the start of the listening tour. We're going to be going to 6 cities. We're going to be doing Phoenix. We're going to be doing Charlotte. We're going to be doing Philly.
Charlotte?
Yep, Charlotte. We're going to be doing Philly. We're going to do Denver, Minneapolis, and we're going to wrap it up in Seattle in September.
Nice.
At the end of this, what we're going to be doing is collecting survey data as well, to release a report alongside of all of our partners, and to make sure that NextGen, these emerging business leaders, had their voices heard on strengthening the future economy for long-term growth, preparing for the future of work, and ultimately responsible business and corporate leadership.
So I have a question. I never heard, forgive me, but I had not heard of NextGen before. And in like doing the little research the best that I could, I noticed that there's nowhere really on your website that directs it towards LGBTQ+. I saw there's a whole statement about diversity, inclusion, and the next generation and stuff. But where do your membership come from? I mean, because you're based in Washington D.C., but you're doing like this talk in Arizona. Like, how are you branching, and is it part of the National Chamber of Commerce system or the LGBTQ Commerce?
Well, we are not a part of the National Chamber or the LGBT Chamber, even though we are actually in a coalition with them through the Small Business Roundtable. But ultimately, what the NextGen Chamber of Commerce does is we represent the next generation of business leaders. And as we know, these next-gen business leaders are absolute and they're resolute in their value set. And we want to make sure that they have a seat at the table with market makers, policy makers, advocates, and that is inclusive, all inclusive of LGBTQ, our BIPOC communities, making sure that everyone is represented, which is why I'll say, while I have the camera, our friends over at the Phoenix LGBT Chamber, I really hope to see you at our listening tour.
You know, there are so many different companies right now that are choosing which side of the aisle to sit on. And if you look even in retail at, let's say, Target versus Costco, Target's taken a position that certainly not anti-gay, but they've given us some problems in the past, where you have Costco that says, bring it on, welcome everyone. What are you finding in the corporate world as far as diversity and LGBTQ inclusion?
In the corporate world, depending on the organizations that you talk to, regardless of the public posturing that you're seeing, what you're seeing behind the scenes is there's still commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. I think people are just choosing to abridge the traditional, what we like to call the traditional words of DEI, based on, quite frankly, the current political climate. But otherwise, I do see organizations that are still very much into the initiatives of DEI without necessarily calling.
But are they afraid to stand up and speak out?
It depends on who you talk to. That's how I'll phrase it. I'll say that my corporate partners have been incredible to us, incredibly supportive. They're diverse organizations. And of course, we're always looking for more corporate partners. So feel free to reach out to me.
Well, I expected you to say that, to be honest with you. But what I'm kind of asking is, what have you heard as far as companies being afraid about retribution? Are you hearing a lot of that? Are you hearing concern in the business world about supporting us?
In my experiences talking with folks in the social impact circle, corporate social responsibility, I haven't heard a lot of that. Obviously, in different wings of different companies, there can be those concerns, but I have not heard that inside of the corporate social responsibility sphere.
And I would imagine that this NextGen group is is more progressive than the broader community, or would that be an assumption? I mean, because it's a younger set of people who don't see DEI, who have grown up in a world
Normalized.
where it was much more normalized, not even just LGBTQ, but just diversity in general is more normalized.
Oh, absolutely. It's one of those things we encounter that where a lot of folks, especially, not to age myself, I'm 29 going on 30. So
Oh my
obviously,
God. I need
I
a
was
drink.
29.
Is there any?
I'm 39 going on
vodka or
40.
something
We
in
have a
the
lot
room?
in common.
so ultimately, I grew up with these principles in practice, and quite frankly, a lot of these emerging business leaders simply just expect it to be in practice. So making sure that we're representing those views with our policymakers, market makers, advocates, and have them see things from a next-gen perspective as they're ultimately going to be leading this future economy. Right now, next-gen accounts for about 100 million in the workforce, and that's going to continue growing. As I say to every corporate prospect that I talk to, when I think about next-gen, I think about our next generation of CEOs, C-suite executives, board chairs, so on and so forth.
What's the definition of next gen?
Next gen for us is very much an evergreen term. We fundamentally believe that this is anybody who's taking evolutionary steps inside their career. This can be somebody who's going off and starting their own business after being in the corporate sector. These can be people who are just starting out in the corporate sector and climbing up the corporate ladder. We want to make sure that we're encompassing everybody, so we don't bracket an age around it or anything. We want to make sure we're holistically inclusive of forwarding a next gen message.
Great. Well, that is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer and nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight, and we look forward to